What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, and today I'm back to bring you an interesting take on the Warhammer 40k movie. So there's no movie coming out, boo-hoo, which kind of sucks, but like, in all reality, I highly doubt there will be a 40k movie to come out at all. Now, there's content creators who are making their own take. For example, I believe it's called Inquisitor or Hell's Reach, Death of Hope. There's tons out there, guys. Go check them out. They're really amazing. But like a full-fledged Hollywood 40k movie is really kind of I don't see it happening. First of all, Warcraft came out, which is awesome. It was pretty cool, but again, it is so tailored to a certain demographic that it didn't really make that much money. And for all the special effects, all the CGI and everything that goes into a movie, it's kind of not worth it for the studio to put all this, hundreds of thousands of even millions of dollars into a movie to know that it's not going to be profitable, basically. With 40k, you're going to need a lot of money for all the CGI. Primarchs, they're not just normal sized men, and you're fighting Xenos, and there's laser weaponry, and it's just so much on a grand scale that like the battles are going to be super expensive to film. Like it's just crazy to think of it coming out. Like, yeah, it'd be awesome if, like, because we could see it working like as a Marvel cinematic universe. A lot of you guys say that, oh, you could start small and build and build and build, but you got to think that starting small, say you follow a guardsman or whatever, it's just gonna look like a run-of-the-mill, sci-fi action flick. And then once you actually get to the good stuff, which would be like Primarchs and, chaos and fighting Tyranids and orcs and whatnot, you're gonna start losing people, I feel, because now you're tailoring more to like a certain demographic instead of like, a broader audience. So that's when it starts to get a little harder, because in order to build up to the Horus Heresy, you got to put so much backstory into it. You got to build the lore, get people caring for characters, introducing, this character, introducing that character, and at the end of the day, there's freaking, it's supposed to be 20 Primarchs. Two of them are missing, but then you've got Omegon and Alfarius and whatnot, and that's a huge cast, and to have them all on the screen and to create a narrative that makes sense for beginners and fans of this universe, I feel like that's going to be too much of a task to accomplish and make it look really, really great and refined. Now, don't get me wrong, I'd love to see a 40k movie, which is why I'm making this fan cast. And it's just, I just don't see it happening, which kind of sucks, but at the same time it makes sense if you think about it. But this is a video where I will be talking about who I would want to play as the Primarchs. So I've chosen about 20 or so actors that I think would fit the role for these Primarchs. And I just want your opinions on them. Do you guys agree? Would you have chosen a different actor? How do you think this Primarch should be portrayed and whatnot? I guess here goes. So this is my interpretation on which actors I would like to play the Primarchs. So let's dive right in with the Primarch of the Dark Angels, the First Legion, Lion L. Johnson. So when it comes to Lion, he is the first Primarch. He's honorable. He's basically a knight. There's a lot of secrets to him, and like, he's just a very interesting Primarch. So for somebody that's secretive yet honorable, I feel like a good character to play him would be Viggo Mortensen from The Lord of the Rings. I feel like he kind of looks like, I guess, a little bit like the Lion, but I feel like he would play him pretty well. And The Lord of the Rings obviously is sci-fi, fantasy, whatever you want to call it, and I just think he'd be a good actor to play him. Again, if you guys have another choice, let me know down below, but let's move on to the Second Legion, the Emperor's Children's very own Primarch, Fulgrim. Fulgrim is known as the Phoenician. He strives for perfection in all he does, and Fulgrim, he's he's cocky. He's got a lot of hubris, and that's what eventually drove him to be consumed by the chaotic gods. So we basically need an actor that's full of himself, can come off as arrogant, but still be pretty handsome and intimidating. And this one I was thinking for quite a while, but I think that Jared Leto from 30 Seconds to Mars, or from Blade Runner, he was also the Joker in Suicide Squad, I think he can pull it off. I've seen him sing. There you go, that's a plus. He's got his own band, so there you go. Slanesh would definitely like that. The Emperor's Children are all about noise, so I think that fits the part. Going on, we've got number 3, the Iron Warriors, and this is Perturabo. The Lord of Iron, the Breaker, the Hammer of Olympia. Perturabo is supposed to be like an ugly, hulking, Primarch. He's not supposed to be the smartest, but he is a pretty beast in combat. So I needed somebody to be big, a brute, so to speak. And I had a few people in line. At first I was going to say the Hound from Game of Thrones, but at the end of the day, I had to give it to Dwayne Johnson, aka The Rock. He's basically in every movie nowadays, so I had to put him in here. And I think they kind of look alike. I mean, if you look at this picture, you could just insert The Rock's face in there, and boom, you've got Perturabo. Next up, we've got Jagtai Khan from the White Scars. So with this guy, as I was doing my research, I noticed that he was one of the only Primarchs with a beard. Like, all the other arts that I saw, everybody's all clean-shaven. However, when I noticed this, I put it on Facebook, and you guys said that Lionel Johnson also had a beard, so boom, Vigo's got a beard too. But with Jagtai Khan, a good actor that I think would play him would be Ken Watanabe. He was in Batman Begins, he was in Inception, he was in The Last Samurai, so I think it'd be a good fit. And I mean, I could see him, dressed up as the Khan. So, there you go, guys. Next up, we've got an easy one for me. This was Leman Russ from the Space Wolves. I didn't have to do much research because as soon as he came out on TV, I knew this was Leman Russ. It is none other than Christopher Hivju, aka Tormund from Game of Thrones. Every time I pictured Leman Russ, I always pictured him with a beard and a redhead. So when the model came out for Games Workshop from Forge World, I was surprised he didn't have a beard and that he was blonde. So I'm like, no. It's gotta be Tormund from Game of Thrones. He was also in the remake for The Thing and Fast and the Furious 8, I believe, or one of the Fast and the Furious. So he would be an instant actor to play Leman Russ. Like I said, this was a no-brainer for me. I didn't even have to look it up or anything. Tormund, Leman Russ. The next one was also a pretty easy pick. This is Rogel Dorn by the Imperial Fists. The Imperial Fists are one of Gersh's favorite armies, and I don't know why I said that. That has nothing to do with why I picked this actor. But the actor that I picked to play Rogel Dorn was Bruce Willis. They basically look alike. I feel like they're like the same character, like at least from Die Hard. Pretty close. Next up, from the Night Lords, we've got Conrad Kurz. Now this one was a toss-up. At first I went with Tom Hiddleston. Everybody knows him as Loki. But the more I thought about it, I felt like the better actor would be Alan Rickman, who played Snape from Harry Potter. It doesn't take much to make basically Snape look like Conrad Kurz. Just add a little bit more eyeshadow and there you go. He was basically like the anti-hero of Harry Potter, so I decided that Conrad Kurz would probably be a good fit for Alan Rickman to play. Next up, we've got Sanguinius from the Blood Angels. I needed somebody to showcase, attractiveness, but also strength at the same time, and it wasn't pretty hard. I had to go with Chris Hemsworth from Thor. He plays Thor. Thor's kind of like Sanguinius, but not really, but I think it works. Moving on, from the Iron Hands chapter, we've got Ferrus Manus. Now, who do I want to play a beheaded Primarch? I went through a few actors, but all in all, I think Tom Hardy could do him justice. He was in Inception. He's going to play Venom. He played Bane, So Ferrus Manus, Tom Hardy. That was my pick. With this next one, I also had a few actors in mind. It is Angeron from the World Eaters. So I needed a brute, somebody big, huge, could just like destroy you, somebody really intimidating. And I was stuck between Jason Momoa from Game of Thrones, Khal Drogo, aka Aquaman from Justice League, or what's his name? The Mountain from Game of Thrones. I feel like either one could play him pretty well, but at the end of the day, if I had to pick one, I'd go with Jason Momoa. But yeah, I think he could do a good job, and you could make his hair or his butcher's nails, just put some braids on them. There you go. Next up, this was an easy pick for me. Ever since I saw Gladiator, this actor could easily be Robute Gilliman from the Ultramarines. And of course, it's Russell Crowe. He was in Gladiator, and that's basically what Gilliman is based off of. He reminds you of like a Roman emperor or something like that. So Russell Crowe, Gilliman, that was an easy pick there. For this next one, this was kind of a toss-up between Heath Ledger and, oh man, what's his name? I forgot the actor's name, but it's the guy who plays It. Ah man, Bill Skarsgård. There you go. Either one of these two guys, I feel, could play Mortarion pretty well. I mean, his death guard kind of makes him look all like sickly and just, like he's got a freaking like gas mask on him. He's supposed to be like, Grim Reaper looking like. So I don't know. It's kind of hard between these two. I mean, who would you pick, Ledger or Skarsgård? But I think Heath Ledger would do him justice. He played a phenomenal Joker in The Dark Knight. And, I mean, he's got range, and, yeah, so that's my pick. Magnus the Red. He, I don't know, because, like, whoever would play him would be in, like, a heavy makeup, so much so that the actor would probably be unrecognizable. So, I mean, if we're going the CGI route, I guess you can't go wrong with, oh man, what's his name? Why am I drawing a blank? Ah man, he basically plays every CGI character. He was Ulysses Claw in basically the Black Panther movies. He was Gollum. Man, you know who I'm talking about. Whatever picture you see here, that's who I'm talking about. I'm just blanking on his name. However, if you did decide to go with an actual, person and not relying so much on CGI, I think Johnny Depp would give him a good interpretation. He already plays weird and awkward characters, so Magnus the Red, probably he could make it work. Maybe. And then we come to the big bad boy himself, the Primarch of the Luna Wolves / the Sons of Horus, the War Master, Horus. This was a pretty easy one for me. I could easily see Bryan Cranston, aka Walter White, be an amazing Horus. He's just perfect for this role, in my opinion. I couldn't even think of any other actors to play Horus besides Bryan, so I had to go with that pick. Only 4 more Primarchs left, guys, so let's continue this list with Lorgar from the Word Bearers. I didn't know who to pick. I just needed somebody bald, so I went with Jason Statham. He's kind of short, which Lorgar was the shortest of the Primarchs, so I think Statham can do a good job. I mean, he was in the Expendables, the Fast and the Furious movies, so he knows a thing or two about action, although Lorgar, he wasn't really that good. Going on with Vulcan from the Salamanders. At first, I had Terry Crews, because, I mean, this dude is just huge. I mean, look at him. He was in the Old Spice commercials and whatnot. But I think when it comes to actually getting an actor that can interpret the inner turmoil of Vulcan, the pain from being tortured by Conrad Kurz, I'd have to give it to Idris Elba. He's just a good actor overall. He knows action movies. I mean, he was in Thor, he was in Star Trek, and he played a pretty good, he had a good role in Beast of No Nation. I felt like he did a good job interpreting his role there, so I think he could do a good job playing Vulcan. And then finally, we've come to the Raven Guard's very own Corvus Corax, and with this one, it was a pretty easy pick for me. We've got the main dude, John Wick himself, Keanu Reeves. I feel like Keanu can play an awesome Corvus, Corax. Just the whole like attitude, the way Corvax is all about like shadows and stealth, and he can kick some butt too. So Keanu's the man for that. When it comes to the Alpha Legions, Alpharius / Omegon, I kind of took a different route. I didn't want to do like a action movie star guy, and that is Patrick Stewart. He played Xavier in the X-Men movies. Obviously, he was in Star Trek, and I feel like he can give Alpharius / Omegon a pretty interesting take. Like they'd be more of like a spy kind of thing. It'd be more of like mental games going on and whatnot. So this is an interesting pick, but I think he can pull off the role. And there you go, guys. Besides talking about the Lost Legions, Primarchs, this was all the Primarchs here. But I will give you my interpretation as to who would be a good actor to play the one, the only, the Emperor. And this may come as a surprise to you guys, but I feel, I'm probably going to butcher his name, I feel like Ciaran Hinds can do him justice. If you don't know who I'm talking about, it is Mance Rayder from Game of Thrones. When I first saw him, he was like the king of the wildlings. I don't know, and he just felt like he had that presence. Like, I don't know, it wasn't like intimidating, but like when he was there, like you knew it. They kind of look alike, so why not? So that was my take on the actors that I would have chosen to play these Primarchs and the Emperor. So now I'm really anxious to hear what your opinions are. So please let me know down below who you guys would choose to play the Primarchs in a Warhammer 40k movie. As always, this is the Sound Alchemist, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.